Hey y'all, it's Saturday. Time for another video. If you can tell by the thumbnail and the description, we're going over the new ETFs, at least two of the new ETFs, sorta. We're going over both, sorta. From Global X. It's the risk managed income ETFs. And as you can also tell by the thumbnail and title, is it better than NUSI? Right now, of course, Global X, they're doing both the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P. NUSI only does the NASDAQ 100. There are other ones that cover the S&P, but to be honest with you, they're so small that they're not even worth talking about, to be totally honest with you. So we're gonna make this one a little quicker, okay? If you want to know about the collar strategy, I'll link the NUSI video up top and down below. That way you can understand it a little bit better. It would take too long, and I don't want to stretch this video out that far. So today we're going to go over the basics of QRMI. I'm going to call it QRMI. It's QRMI, and XRMI, which is XRMI. That's the S&P version. I'm not going to go over that, but it's essentially the same as the QRMI, except it does the S&P 500 versus the QRMI that does the NASDAQ 100, but the strategy is exactly the same. Okay, it just uses a different index. So that being said, I'm going to go over also what I think. I'm going to stress that I think the dividend yield will end up being. We won't know until they start paying. And I'll give you one reason why, toward the end, why I don't think that I would pick this over NUSI. So stay tuned to the end of the video. So if you're new here, please like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff that I say in every video. Down in the pinned comment down below is ways you can support the channel. Affiliate links, M1 Finance, Amazon link, Ko-Fi, tip jar, all that good stuff. One little public service announcement. I've been getting emails when you put a comment on YouTube, I get an email that alerts me to that comment. So in the email, it'll show me the comment. Now, when I go to reply or I go to look for that comment, sometimes that comment is just gone. I can't reply to it. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. Something's happening on their end that is not allowing your comment to post, even though it sends me an alert that the comment was posted. So trust me, I'm not ignoring you. I see them. So if you don't get a response, maybe, I don't know, maybe put a comment on another comment. I don't know what to do at that point, because there's been a few of them that have just kind of just disappeared into no man's land. So just know that I'm not ignoring you. If you want, connect with me on Instagram, on Facebook. I have the links down below as well. Those are other ways you can get a hold of me. So it is what it is. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here we are looking at QRMI. QRMI. It's the NASDAQ 100 Risk Managed Income ETF. Now, what does that do? It employs a protective net credit collar, very similar to NUSI. Okay. It seeks to achieve by owning the stocks in the NASDAQ 100 while buying 5% out of the money put options on the NDX, which is the NASDAQ index, and selling at the money call options on the same index. So somewhat similar to NUSI, not quite, and I'll get to that toward the end. So it's basically looking to get you some current yield and offer you downside protection, okay? Because the downside protection from the 5% out of the money put options, if they buy an option down below, that will limit your downside. So the downside is capped at roughly 5%. I'm not going to say that, if the NASDAQ dropped 5% in a month, that this will only drop 5% in a month. It doesn't quite work like that. It'll be close though. It might be a little bit more. But you also are selling at the money call options, kind of like QILD does. So essentially what this is QILD with buying a 5% out of the money put. That's essentially what this fund is. And it's similar to NUSI. So there's the XRMI, which is the same thing, but it's under the S&P 500. Does the exact same strategy. I think that this will yield a little bit less than QRMI. That's just the NASDAQ typically has higher premiums on the option side. So XRMI will most likely yield less income. So let's go over the fund objective and just try to put this in a little box here to figure out what it is. We know the NASDAQ 100 index component. If you know QQQ, the ETF QQQ, then you know the NASDAQ 100 because that's what it is. But they sell options on the NASDAQ index itself, not on QQQ. Okay. So the options collar component is one thing we want to look at. So it's comprised of a long position in a monthly 5% out of the money put option and a short position in monthly at the money call options on the NASDAQ 100. So here's their strategy for it. The put options deemed purchased on the third Friday of a month are usually held to the open of the third Friday in the next month when options referencing the NASDAQ 100 index expire. After that, after the settlement of the put options, new out-of-the-money put options expiring in the next month are purchased corresponding to the value of the NASDAQ 100 index component. The strike price, this is important, the strike price of the new put options, which is the price the put options can be exercised at expiration, is the closest listed price to 95% of the last value of the NASDAQ 100 index reported before 4 p.m. the day before the third Friday of a month when the new put options are purchased. I don't know how they come up with these convoluted rules. You know, it has to be we have to use the price that was reported the day before to know what we're going to purchase the day after. It's weird. And the call options are pretty much the same way. So the strike price of the new call option is the closest listed strike price to 100% of the last value of the NASDAQ 100 index the day before the third Friday. So the closest to at the money. Okay. Now this is an interesting little tidbit that I'm kind of confused about. Dividends paid on the component stocks underlying the NASDAQ 100 index and the dollar value of the option premium deemed received from the sold call options are functionally reinvested in the NASDAQ 100 index portfolio. That last part kind of throws me there, because if they're receiving that and reinvested into the NASDAQ 100 index portfolio, where are you getting the dividend from? I don't know where they're pulling the money from then. So it doesn't quite make sense to me. And that's kind of why, it's Global X. So now I want to talk about what I think. Okay, I'm going to, stress that again. What I think the dividend yield's going to be. So we look here at the NASDAQ, right? This is the NASDAQ index. It's trading on Friday, September 3rd at $15,652.86. So if we go over here to the option chain, now we're in Interactive Brokers, and we go 30 days out. This is 29, but oh well. 15,652, 5% down would be about 14,800, because it's about 800 and something dollars is a 5% move. So they would purchase this $14,800 put option, and they would sell, as it said, right? It said closest to 100% of the value. So if it's at 15,652, I would think, I'm assuming here, the closest would be 15,700, which would allow some move up. But I could be wrong, and they could sell in the money 15,600. I don't know. But the way I'm reading it, 100% closest to the price of the day before would be, which is 15,652, should be the 15,700. That would make sense. So they would sell that one, right? So right there, they bought this 14,800 and they sold this 15,700, and this is the bid ask, but we could just say in the middle there, $146 or $132 is what they would receive. So somewhere in the middle there. So let's call it $140, right? Because we, get $140 at the mid price. So if we get $140, right, that would be $140. Let's divide that. They have 100,000 shares outstanding currently. This is going to be basically 14 cents. Okay, so 14 cents. We'll divide that by its current share price, which is $24.70. And that equals, we'll times that by 100. That equals 0.567%. But we'll times that by 12. We get 6.8%. Let's call it 7% yield. So that's a 7% yield on the essentially QILD with a 5% bought put, which is right around, it might be a little, it's going to be right around what NUSI does. Okay. Now, where I get that outstanding share information was here on Seeking Alpha, where it says outstanding shares. Oh, okay. Are you making a liar out of me? There we go. Shares outstanding, 100,000. Did I do the math right? I don't know. Like I said, this was my guess that it's going to be around the 7% yielding range, because you're buying, because for instance, QILD yields about 12%. You're buying a 5% out of the money put option that's going to reduce the yield. So that's, my prediction. Am I wrong? I might be. But, that's just, it is what it is. We don't know until they actually start paying. So now we get to the point of the video where I tell you why I don't like and I will not replace my NUSI position with QRMI. Okay. A lot of people are going to say, well, it's a little cheaper on expense ratio, and that's true. NUSI is a 0.68 expense ratio, and QRMI is 0.60. Okay. But this is what Global X does. Okay. It uses a passive or indexing approach to try to achieve the fund's investment objective. Unlike many investment companies, the fund does not try to outperform the underlying index and does not seek temporary defensive positions when markets decline, blah, blah, blah. Okay? This is why I wouldn't switch over. The advisor uses a passive approach. So those rules that I went over of what they do, it's set in stone. Okay? They're going to do that repeatedly over and over every single month. What I like about NUSI is that it's actively managed for just another 0.08%. And NUSI can adjust. They can adjust this, the buying of the put option. They can adjust that. Now, there could be risk in that involved in there too, because they can be wrong, right? But I think in options, I think it's better to be actively managed than to be passively managed. So NUSI can adjust the 5% out of the money put options, and NUSI can also adjust the call options as well. So NUSI can pull off a call option if they think that the NASDAQ is going to continue to run up. They have that freedom. They're not stuck on a set of rules that, come hell or high water, we're just going to, use the rules and that's it. If it, going to lose us money, oh well. I'm not saying that's their attitude. I'm just saying that NUSI has that flexibility. And I think in options, when you're dealing with options in your portfolio, you need to have that flexibility to take stuff off when you need to take stuff off, put stuff on, and adjust that strike of whether you're buying a put option or selling a call option. You need to have that flexibility to do that. And so that's the main reason why that I will not be switching out of NUSI into QRMI. QRMI. That's such a funny name, QRMI. But, like I said, I could be totally wrong. Active management might, NUSI could screw everything up and do something wrong, and it can zig when it should have zagged, right? So that can happen. So that's a risk, but it's a risk that I'm willing to take. So that's QRMI and XRMI. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, Global X, put collar risk managed income strategy ETFs. Essentially, QRMI is QYLD buying a 5% out of the money put. That's essentially what it is. So that's why my guess is it's going to run about a 7% yield paid monthly. And there you have it. So if you have any questions or concerns, I might have, I could be wrong. This is just my interpretation of what we got going here. In my opinion, there's no rush to get into these. Let's see how it performs. Let's see what kind of yields they throw off. These kind of funds are not going to rise up in price like crazy. So there's no need to rush into these. I would just play it slow and see how they perform over the next few months, and then we'll take another look at it. So there we have it. I hope this didn't drag on that long. Global X has came on with a couple other ones that I'll probably look at in the following weeks. If you want to see one of those, drop a comment down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye-bye. I am not a financial advisor. The information contained in this video is for entertainment and informational purposes only. It is not intended to be investment advice. Please seek a licensed professional for any investment, tax, or legal advice. Thank you.